Okay, I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Maplewood Community Design Review Board. Today is Tuesday, May 21st, 6 o'clock p.m. Next item is roll call, and I see that we are missing Amanda Reinhardt and Anant Shankar, but we do have the other three, which makes a quorum, so we can continue and do our meeting. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Staff, any comments or anything?
Chair and board, staff does not have any amendments to the agenda as presented.
Anything from board?
No. A motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will take that to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Congratulations, we move on. Approval of the minutes from the meeting from April 16th, 2024. Staff, anything?
Chair and board, staff does not have any amendments to the minutes as presented.
Okay, anything from the board?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. No discussion, we will then take that to a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous again. Next item is new business, design review resolution, MDOT Materials and Road Research Laboratory Building addition at 1400 Jarvis Avenue East. Report, please, staff.
Thank you, Chair and board. A few slides are being populated right now on your screens to walk through this introductory discussion to this item. As you mentioned, the Minnesota Department of Transportation is proposing a building addition to its facility at 1400 Jarvis Avenue. The addition itself would be 9,400 square feet. The current building and use were reviewed and approved by the City Council in 1988. Part of that approval was a conditional use permit. That conditional use permit still applies today, and the use of the building itself is not expanding or changing, so no amendment to that conditional use permit is required. So to move forward with the project as proposed is design review, which is what the board tonight is reviewing. The site itself is guided by the city's comprehensive plan as mixed-use community and is zoned light manufacturing. As mentioned, does not require any other land use approvals other than the design review tonight to be able to move forward to the building permit stage. The site will continue to have a single access drive off Jarvis Avenue to the north. The building addition is proposed to be on the northwest corner of the existing building. On the right-hand side of the screen is the site plan. The lighter portion of the building is where the addition is proposed, contrasted with the darker gray of the existing building. These plans were included with your packet for the meeting tonight. The driveway and parking areas both to the north and west of the building are also expanding. But all building and parking lot setbacks as detailed in the staff report are being met. The addition itself would require 47 new parking spaces, and the applicant's providing 78 spaces. So both the existing facility and the new addition are meeting the parking requirements. The addition's exterior is proposed to be composed of precast panels. Those panels would have a darker base, lighter main body, and a mid-tone top in shades of reddish brown. They are meant to complement and contrast with the existing building, and the applicant is present and can talk more of that with any questions from the board on the design philosophy of the addition. The aluminum storefront windows would be a dark bronze to match the existing windows, and the overhead garage doors that will be added to access certain parts of the building would be either a white or a tan. Looking at the landscape plan to mainly because of the parking lot expansion, 29 significant trees that are on the site would be removed, equaling 410 caliber inches. 12 new trees are proposed. 29 significant trees on site. 12 of those trees are proposed to be removed. So code requires 64 caliber inches of replacement trees. The landscape plan shows 14 new trees, totaling 35 caliber inches of replacement trees. That leaves 29 additional caliber inches that the applicant either can amend the landscape plan to add more caliber inches or pay into the city's tree fund. Staff did send a meeting notice for tonight's meeting to the surrounding 37 properties. We did receive one comment, which was included in your packet tonight. The recommended action is a motion to approve a resolution for design review approving a building addition and site plan changes to be constructed at 1400 Jarvis Avenue East. No council review, again, is required unless an appeal is filed. As I mentioned, the applicant is present tonight with building materials, and at this time, staff can stand for any questions that the board may have.
Any questions for staff? The applicant like to come forward? Please sign in and state your name and location for the record.
My name is Terry Nagel. I'm with Codet Architectural Group. I'm the project manager for this project, and I am from Minneapolis.
And I see you brought samples.
Yes.
We like to see that.
Heavy ones, too.
Yeah. We'll just make you stand there for another 15 minutes and we'll be good.
That's what he's here for. Yep.
And I'm John Brandel. I'm with Codet Architectural Group, and I am working with Terry Nagel.
So the existing building is a 5-color blend of brick that is no longer available. And we tried to match, and there just wasn't a good match. It just looked off. And then cost too affected it with the addition, so we went with a precast panel. The space where the function of it, part of it is very industrial. They're gonna have equipment that's going to be, they're training this new staff to learn how to do all of the technical testing required for when they put new roads in. And so there's a lot of shakers and all this other dust generating equipment, so precast made sense for those areas. So this is the preliminary panel. The final panel selection is gonna depend on what manufacturer we get. The colors vary a little bit by manufacturer, but there's that, the darker base with a little more texture down at the bottom, again, to just take the, lawnmowers and everything running into it, so it's a little more durable down at the bottom. A finer finish as we go up, and then just having the darker color on the top. And going with the reddish brown to complement the existing brick. There's also one little component of the existing building that is ephes, that's a red ephes. We didn't want to match that. And so just trying to be complementary. And then as mentioned in the report, the existing windows are dark bronze. And then right at the entryway, there's some metal panel. And we're looking at doing a lighter contrasting color. And again, I'm not sure which one it's gonna be yet. It depends on the precast final color, but something light.
Above the windows?
Yes, yep.
Why don't you bring those forward so
Oh, sure.
we can get a peek at that stuff and then you can put them down. So, okay.
don't stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Okay. Any further need to look at it? You can just go ahead and set it down. I'm feeling sorry for you.
So that section that's above, in the rendering, it looks like it has texture to it. Was that,
It's just the rendering. The metal panel is a ribbed panel, which unfortunately I didn't have a sample of. But, so I wouldn't call it a texture, but it's a pattern or whatever, I don't know.
Talking
But
about
it's
Horizontal
a
rib.
horizontal rib.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a concealed fastener ribbed metal panel.
Okay.
so what is the spacing between the ribs?
The ribs are, I would say, what is that, 3 to 4 inches? So it's basically stands out, recesses back, and it alternates every 3 to 4 inches.
Kind of like a honeycomb pattern.
Yeah.
Like
It's not what it looks like in the graphic.
Yeah, I was saying, that's not,
so it would look like that.
It's 1.5 inches high, and looks something like that.
Okay. No, I think that looks good. It's, even if you could get the old material, I think it's probably just too much.
yeah.
The building does, it keeps going on, and the
Yeah.
nice thing about this, everybody that's gonna come to this area of the building is different than anybody going to the rest of the site, so they wanted it to be a
Yep.
little contrast so that they knew exactly where to go. So it did make sense.
Will there be any HVAC equipment?
There is, and it's gonna be screened on the roof with a similar panel
Okay.
that looks like this. But there is one rooftop unit, and we will have it screened.
All right. I notice you have a lot of equipment on the building and other places, and,
Yeah,
you know, actually, I think it looks kind of cool. It's all neatly installed, it's kind of artsy. In an
when you get
industrial way.
well-installed mechanical, it can be very cool.
Yeah.
Is the rainwater drainage internal?
So yes, internal roof drains and scuppers, and then going down, and that's going out to that pond that's in the northwest corner of the site, yes.
External spouts or
Nope.
anything that would be over the
I
top?
think there would be one canopy along the front.
You're
entry.
right, the front entry, that 4-foot canopy, we do have downspouts from that, thank you, John.
And what color are those gonna match to?
We will probably match, because they're coming down in front of the windows, so we'll probably match the window color.
So that dark
So
bronze?
the horizontal part, so the gutter would match the canopy and the metal panel, and then where it turns vertical will match to the windows.
And staff, there's no lighting concerns with any lighting proposed on the site?
Chair and board, a photometric plan was submitted with this, and it did meet all ordinance requirements.
So, yeah.
Also, I find that the site is really well screened from everybody.
It is.
So it's got that berm over on the east side, and then good amount of spruce trees between the building and the highway, so I don't think you're gonna bother anybody.
Hopefully not.
Mike, what was the, I can't find it in here, what was the comment from one of the neighbors?
It was lighting in the trees. They want-
Correct. Chair and board, yeah, as the board member mentioned, lighting, wanting to ensure that the new lights were downcast, and then a concern of.
Male or female Gringo trees.
Correct, and that species of trees is being recommended to be replaced anyway by the city's naturalist for a native species.
Okay.
And the landscape architect on our team he's got some calls in just to find out, a little bit more on the caliper issue with the number and if there's a specific location. So they are working on that so that we can add the additional trees and change the one tree type. So we are working on that. So it'll be on the ones that go for plan review, we'll have that updated.
Is that covered in the recommendation, the landscape plan?
Chair and, Chair and board, correct, it is. In the environmental report, that's where it's mentioned that a recommendation to change out the type of tree, and that's in your resolution as well.
Thank you for verifying.
Just the main head or something.
I have no further questions.
Anything else?
No.
I think it looks good, so,
All right.
would somebody like to make a motion?
Just had.
Tom?
I had the page and I just clicked it and I just lost it.
Okay.
Chair and board, the recommended action is on page 7 of the packet. It's also on the screen.
Okay, I'll make a motion. So
We go.
make a
Just the one little sentence?
Correct.
Oh, I was looking for something more complicated. That's why I couldn't find it.
motion to approve a resolution for design review approving a building addition and site plan changes to be constructed at 1400 Jarvis Avenue East.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll take that to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, you win.
Yeah, good luck
Thank
with
you
your
for your
project.
time.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
All right, next item is comprehensive sign plan amendment, Birch Run Station, 1715 Beam Avenue East. Staff.
Thank you, Chair and board. Going back to the screens for overview of the presentation. So yes, we're looking at Birch Run Station, a shopping center at 1715 Beam Avenue East, just west of the Maplewood Mall area. Ross Dress for Less is requesting a comprehensive sign plan amendment for a proposed wall sign at Birch Run Station. The shopping center itself is 26 acres in size. The current controls of the property, it's guided by the city's comprehensive plan as mixed-use community, and the zoning is North End. So again, the comprehensive plan for this site guides the property for community and regional serving, commercial retail, or service businesses, offices, and high-density housing. The sign code requires a comprehensive sign plan for the property, both because it's a property with more than 5 tenants, and it's a campus or a site with more than 10 acres in size. So as ordinance defines, a comprehensive sign plan means a coordinated plan for all signs and/or murals located on a site or within a single development. And really, the intent behind a comprehensive sign plan is both for existing tenants who are updating their signage, new tenants, so they know the expectations of signage, and for staff to implement the plan. So that's the focus or the lens that staff looks through amendments of making sure a plan can be implemented both today and down the road. The existing sign plan for this site was first approved in 1989. The last revision was in 2022. Maybe the members here remember that review, and this was done in coordination with the facade updates and the parking lot reconfiguration. And while the sign plan came on board at that time too, as a new property owner came in place and was looking to revitalize the shopping center, they were obviously doing the facade updates and wanted to have a coordinated sign plan for new tenants coming in and make some tweaks around other signage on the site. So tenants currently are permitted one wall sign on the front fascia of the canopy, copy not to exceed 42 inches and a minimum distance of 18 inches from the edges of the sign to either side of the tenant storefront. So again, if you think of looking at a storefront, go 18 inches from either side, then you can have your sign. So however many linear feet or inches that may be, you can fill that with signage. And each individual letter cannot exceed 42 inches. Now with those tenants that have a facade that would allow more than one line of copy, they could have multiple lines, again, as long as each letter itself does not exceed 42 inches. There are obviously several tenants at Birch Run where only one line can fit on the fascia within their storefront. So that's what they're limited to in signage. I should make note too, as the board receives those administrative 15-day reviews, there's been a number of them for Birch Run Station since the 2022, including Ross, Dress for Less, Five Below, and I believe Joanne are the most recent ones. So the city definitely has been taking in proposed changes to the center since 2022, and all those were approved as new tenants coming in wanted to make adjustments to their facade and their front-facing elevation. Larger tenants with more prominent facade, I just mentioned this again. So this is the one line versus two lines based on the tenant facades, but again, not exceeding those 42 inches. In addition to the individual storefront signs, there are 3 freestanding signs, 2 along Beam Avenue and 1 on South Lawn Drive. I'm sure every board member here knows the main monument sign is probably one of the tallest signs in the area that's serving that shopping center. And additionally, tenant identification wall signs are permitted on the east wall facing Southland Drive. So again, from a staff perspective, this shopping center has good signage. The applicant is proposing a wall sign on the exterior facade that exceeds the maximum copy height allowed in the site's sign plan. They are proposing to increase the copy height up to 60 inches with a second row of sign copy up to 36 inches in height. And as you went through the applicant's proposal, they're proposing the sign plan starts regulating different types of tenants into 4 different. They would categorize the Ross property as a type 1. We can go to the map here. So you can see the type 1, type 2, type 3. Oh, I'm sorry, I guess there are 6 types of facades being proposed here. And again, just when I mentioned at the beginning, we aim from a staff perspective to have a comprehensive sign plan that is implemented today, but also 10, 15 years down the road. I think from a staff perspective, sometimes when we put things on current physical conditions of storefronts and then expect 10 years later to be able to implement that, that provides challenges. The sign plan for Birch Run before 2022 had challenges because it was based on previous elements to the center that no longer existed, whether they were specific stores or physical attributes of the center that had gone away through tenant changes. So initially, our concern from a staff perspective are these tenant types going to stay, or facades going to change? As I mentioned, in the last 18 months, we've received 3 15-day requests just to change facades within the center. So this is the proposed sign that Ross is looking at. Again, the ROSS would be the 60 inches and then the smaller 36 inches below. Again, the existing plan would allow 42 inches to be double stacked in some fashion if they were wanting to design a sign that could meet those requirements. As part of the applicant's submittal, they submitted existing signage. In staff's review, you would read in the staff report, we don't believe that some of the scaling is completely accurate, but we did confirm through sign permits that we could find for each of these or that city had record of, they're all meeting those 42 inches, with one caveat that we'll talk about here in just a slide or two. Again, want to point out Burlington recently had their facade updated with the 2022 updates. They're meeting the sign plan requirements. Octapharma is one of those. That's a fourth 15-day request that was recently approved by the city and the CDRB. Five Below, another one, meeting the sign requirements of today's plan, also had facade updates that were different from the 2022 approval. Joanne is the one exception. That's an existing sign that exceeds the 42 inches, but Joanne is moving, vacating that space, moving to a different portion of the center. And they went through their own 15-day, but their new sign will meet the 42 inches. So all these, as the new property owner has brought new tenants into the building, all those new tenants did meet the 42 inches that were established by the previous plan and the 2022 approval. So we're specifically looking at the kind of the latest tenant that is looking to expand that entitlement. We did staff notified properties within 350 feet as the ordinance requires, no comments received. As summarized in your staff report, staff does not believe the applicant has made that compelling or clear case for amending the comprehensive sign plan. As facade updates have been completed, as I mentioned, many tenants have already installed storefronts that comply with current plan requirements. Again, that current plan adopted within the last 2 years. Talked about just those, the scaling not being completely accurate from staff's interpretation. And then just focusing on the sign plan, needs to provide consistent guidelines for the site signage over time, a coordinated plan for the entire site. Again, staff's experience both with this center and other centers that are in that area. We do have sign plans that, well-written ones that are from 1985, and we're still implementing them. And then we have other ones that are very hard to interpret. So we're trying to focus on new approvals being clear and concise. Again, to establish that expectation for new tenants or sign updates, and then staff to implement. So with that, the recommended action is a motion to deny the comprehensive sign plan amendment for Ross Dress for Less at Birch Run Station. This is in the review area, the Community Design Review Board, comprehensive sign plans. The applicant and staff and members of the council would have the right to appeal any decision that is made here. So with that, that's staff's recommendation. The applicant is present and has materials that they would present to the board tonight, and staff can stand for any questions at this time.
So the 42 inches, that's just for the north end area?
Chair and board, no, that's for this center specifically.
That's, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that 42 inches was established for Birch Run. Every shopping center that has 5 or more tenants have subtle differences in their sign plans, but 42 inches was the established height for this.
And so, and they could have You can have multiple lines that are each 42 inches?
Correct. Chair and Commission, there's, the sign plan does not limit how many lines of copy could be on a facade. Really, what the limiting factor is the physical space of the facade itself. So there are some tenants that, as I mentioned, only have room for one line because that's all that's there because of how the facade is designed and was constructed. But for a tenant like Ross, Dress for Less, and the five below, they have areas where they could have multiple lines.
Okay. Any other comments for staff? No. Applicant, come forward, please. State your name for the record, sign in.
Hi there, my name is David Michael, and I'm from Site Enhancement Services located in South Bend, Indiana.
While you're signing it, the Joanne store, what is the height of their lettering?
Chair and board. So on this one, I'd have to, what I can say, the new sign that would be being placed it's 42 inches essentially. This one is larger than that. I can't.
Is it just the, that's not complying?
Correct, and this is an older sign.
Right.
This sign predates even the 2022 approval. This sign has been in place for
Right.
some time. And again, the Joanne, where they're located now, will be vacating to a smaller space within the center, and their new sign would meet the current requirements.
All right.
And I'm Jim Everson with CBRE. I
Yeah.
work with the property management for the shopping center, so I'm here to
Yeah.
represent.
Can you get closer to the microphone?
Jim Everson with CBRE. I work with the ownership with the property management of the shopping center.
Okay.
Hi there. So like I said, I'm from Site Enhancement Services. I'm here on behalf of Ross Dress for Less. We're a branding consulting firm, so anything as far as permitting and going for variances, things of that nature, they bring us in. I just have this one piece of artwork here for you. So we're looking to not gain additional signage. We're trying to put appropriate signage up on this facade. The way that Ross Dress for Less, the layout of their signage, they have Ross, and then the second line of copy is Dress for Less. Here you can see on the second page after the site plan, this is where both lines of copy are at 42 inches. And it will take up, if you draw a box around the signage, it takes up 11.5% of the front facade. Where if you look at the third page, this is what we're actually requesting. We have the top line of copy, Ross, at 60 inches, and the second line of copy is at 36 inches, which takes up 9.8% of the facade, roughly 2%, 1.5% less. So we're not looking to gain extra square footage, anything of that nature. We figured the layout of the signage in this nature fit the architecture of the updated facades in a better way. And we do feel that although there is great freestanding signage as far as for the development, but as I was approaching the development today, there is some vegetation where at some points you're not able to see that freestanding signage. There are out tenants that are on the southeast corner of that intersection there by the property, and we feel the additional sign height after research with site visibility. We figured the 60 inches would be appropriate for motorists driving through the corridor to be able to identify the actual space and then safely maneuver to the appropriate parking spaces. So with that being said, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Do you have a rendering just showing it at 42 inches, the Ross at 42 inches with the Dress for Less at 36, that you could show so that we have a comparison of that?
I do not have that combination, but there is 36 on page 3 and then the 42 on page 2 for the Ross. So the 36-inch height kind of brings the scaling down so it fits on that front facade. And I will say, this elevation drawing, unfortunately, on page 2 is a little outdated. The actual signage band goes over the column, those first columns on either side. So dress and less would not go off of the sign band, it would be fully onto the sign band. And like I said, sorry to interrupt, we're here just to get appropriate signage, and we're willing to work with you guys to come up with something that works for everybody.
Yeah, you know, the second page with the 42 and 42 is kind of deceiving because, you know, I think from a branding perspective, you wouldn't put it over to the brick like that.
Right.
I think so the 11.5% is maybe not an accurate representation of the coverage. I know you scaled it up to 42 inches and then calculated that. I think from a brand image perspective, if you
I mean, I'm looking at some of their other signage, other buildings, and it's all over the map. It seems like they.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different scales, different sizes.
Mike, do you have a picture or a rendering of the actual facade
Is
of that site?
Chair and Commissioner, I can try to pull one up from Google Street, but it should be noted, like, their facade, they've requested some changes to it from that 15-day review, so even a Google image isn't gonna be the most up-to-date.
Right. What is different about the facade change?
It's mainly some of the colors that were added, so I do believe that the overall, like, squaring
The
of.
shape is the same?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And Joanne was the only one that came close to that, correct? That was the only one that was even close to being deviating over that.
Correct, Chair and Board. That's the one that exceeds the current requirements. And again, that was somewhat representative of, again, that inconsistent site, comprehensive sign plan that existed before 2022, where certain tenants were called out as having a different sign allotment, but those tenants no longer existed, and they occupied spaces that were much larger than what's being occupied currently by tenants.
Yep.
And so, again, that's why we're just focusing, or trying to emphasize too, that Joanne sign, while it's inconsistent with the today's plan, is going away in the near future.
Yep.
Forget my question. So the Joanne sign was part of, say, I don't know, was it a FNM or whatever was there before? So that larger building that followed that amendment, that followed that variance with them when they got that site. Okay, I
Yeah.
got you. All right.
And then with the Joanne sign, if, what is the height, because I can't read this because my eyes are old. The J, the A, and the two N's, what is the height of those letters?
Let me, Chair and Commission, let me pull that up here to take a look on my screen.
Like this, okay.
Unless the applicant, as, you know, the individual, you submitted the drawing, do you have those calculations or those measurements handy?
So the letter height there, I did not bring these with me, I apologize, but the overall letter height of that, the O, I believe, is 8 feet.
Is what?
and
8 feet?
and a couple inches, yeah. With the overall height of the I know there's 2 lines of copy, but if you drew a box around it, it's roughly 10 feet tall, the entirety of all the letters there. We had a photographer go out to try and get all these dimensions, and we put a scale card in the pictures, and then we tried to scale it from there. It was the best thing we could do with the timing in this project. I apologize.
No. Perhaps it needs to get looked at again then, and maybe some different renderings. Maybe that's the next step, is
And working with
make these more accurate.
working with the property owner, they did not have updated sign permits or any record of the signage at all. I was trying to get that from them, so then we went out into the field and tried to get all those measurements ourselves
Yep.
in order to bring something to the meeting.
When you're looking to get this thing done?
Construction is going to start, I believe, later this year. I believe it's August or September.
Okay, and it's probably like a 12-week lead time to fabricate the signage, I assume, correct? Yeah, so what's your opening date?
That I do not know.
What was that you said?
That's what the opening date was of the store, when they were gonna open.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's great to get more activity in that area, but, you know, also you don't want to have 5 different variances of signage.
Yeah.
And I, if there was some, you know, this comes out of our scope somewhat, is some impact of what the signage height is going to do for our sales and traffic, but I don't think we're seeing that right now today, or what the impact is on the building, and besides wanting it right now. And I think that these need to be more accurate
Yeah.
than what they're giving us. I think that we need to, you know, open it to another discussion at some time with some
Yeah,
different.
I'm kind of thinking the same thing.
And Chair and Board, I would just, the Joanne sign is an important piece to look at, but even if they were staying in the existing space and they wanted just to update their signage, unless they were going through the same process, they would have to have a smaller sign.
And it looks like the Joanne sign is not long, I mean, it looks like it's getting a little worn down. So when they come back for their next sign update, they're gonna have to conform.
Well, and it's already in motion because this summer, they're moving to another
Oh, that's right,
location.
that's right.
So this sign it's there, and I understand why it's included in this package, but it's kind of
This
it's somewhat,
is not the example to go by anyway. This is not
Yeah.
because they could, okay,
And,
yeah.
you know, what I'd be inclined to think, like, if the Joanne thing was there, is that just the one letter is oversized. I'd be inclined to make an exception for that, because it's part of their unique logo.
but again, Joanne is not looking to have
Oh, I
a
know,
sign of
I
this
know.
size. So I just
I'm-
want to
so-
keep,
So for instance.
it's included with the applicant's submittal, but it kind of leads us down a path
Yeah.
that
I'm
isn't.
kind of inclined to just stick with the 46, and I think the 36 for the second line would probably look really good.
I will say that that option is not part of their trademark, their branding, so they cannot put a sign up like that. But I do have somewhat of a compromise, if you guys will hear me out.
Sure.
May I
Please.
say one thing? I mean, in all due respect, I'm looking at the Ross on Google here. There's many different
Okay.
sizes of the letters, but.
Well, correct, yes, but they have a sign family and they only pick from those. So I will say that there is an option. We're allowed 2 lines of copy, both at 42 inches. That totals up to 84. Would the board would allow, if we just reallocated some of the letter height to the first line of copy? We do have a sign in their sign family where, I left it over here. Where the top line of copy would be the top line of copy would be 60 inches, and the bottom line of copy would be 24, equaling the 84. So the letter heights would just be reallocated to the top.
I think the challenge that we have here is, you know, Maplewood, we have diverse properties that have been developed over 30, 40 years. And as a board and staff, we've been working pretty diligently to bring some continuity to the signage throughout the various shopping centers, districts, you know. In the last year, we've had several. Out on 36, we had a sign plan come through, and yeah, I think we've demonstrated a lot of consistency as a board relative to, the spaces. And as soon as we approve one, there'll be 15 more that'll come, and they'll say, well, you did it for them, so now we have to do it over here. And so I think that as a board, we're obviously having to weigh those options on a regular basis. We want, shopping districts that are fresh, consistent, appealing. There's pylon signs. The main pylon sign by the McDonald's is an enormous sign that you can see forever and ever and ever. And, it's one of the largest signs in that area.
Yes.
As far as the, awareness that the store is located there, there's not really a lot of businesses along that stretch of Beam. So there's a good stretch to be able to see the signage on, these buildings, particularly where this one's located closer to Beam Avenue and not way back in the corner of this particular shopping center.
I think if there was some case study data that was going to show what the impact would be of the signing, I'd be more inclined to look at that and understand what that impact means to this vote. But right now, with there's some kind of rough around the edges calculations have been made. I think that if they want to appeal that with some different, sharper numbers, we can look at that. But I think for right now, I'm going to have to go along with staff on this one.
Which numbers are you referencing? The rest of the development?
Well, first of all, I think on the report, but you had mentioned the pictures, and there were a little bit out of scale. Plus, you said yourself on, was it page?
Of their drawings?
Yeah, I think you mentioned that this is not, well, that was not accurate to what?
The only change would be that the two columns on either side of where that square yellow, where the sign would be, the columns on either side, just extend that yellow out to cover up that next column. I was just there today. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture, but it does look like, just extend that yellow out.
Any other comments? I think we're kind of all feeling about the same.
Yeah.
Would you like to
Yep.
make a motion?
All right, what page is this on?
I'm going to motion to staff, I think it was just a one line. So for 2637, or I'm sorry, located at 1715 Beam Avenue, I'm going to recommend staff's recommendation to deny the proposed 60-inch letter height and maintain the letter height of 42 inches as outlined in the sign comprehensive plan for this property.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of denying the motion or the planned amendment signify by saying aye.
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 That is unanimous. Sorry, but we wish you well on the project.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, any unfinished business from anybody?
Jaren Board, staff does not have any additional business for you tonight.
Okay, anything from the board?
None.
No, staff's got nothing, they already admitted that. There's no visitors.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor? Okay, we're done.